Oh, Rob, how are you feeling this morning, the day after this loss to the Cardinals, sir?
How do you think I'm feeling? The Niners puked down their shoes in the fourth quarter, and now the season is teetering on the brink as they go to a must-win game in Seattle 3 days from now.
There's only a couple people that I enjoy talking to more after a loss than Rob, because the emotions with Rob are present, and I appreciate that. I enjoy that.
It's gross, Ryan, what happened yesterday. To have not only one, but two losses like this in the season, where it was harder to lose that game yesterday than win it with where they were in the fourth quarter. And the 49ers did it. You know how many bad plays they had to make to lose this game? It wasn't just one, it was multiple bad plays. And the 49ers made all of them. And to hear Brock Purdy after the game say, well, we're still finding our identity. What do you mean you're finding your identity? The whole offense is the same, except for Dominic Pooney, who's better. What do you need to find your identity with? Fred Warner, oh, we're learning how to win games. This is the oldest team in the league. You haven't learned how to close out games by now? I don't get what is going on there. It is a culture with the 49ers that is bad. Diamondor Lenore after the game. Oh, they got lucky and won one. Congratulations. No, dude. No. They beat you. You weren't good enough. And then he tweets this morning, oh, well, people are mad because I am who I am. And look at the film. No, dude, we're mad because you're talking trash about teams that whooped you. That's why we're mad. Don't sit here and talk about how they were lucky. No, they weren't lucky. The 49ers got beat. And until they accept that and acknowledge that, nothing's going to change with this team.
I think that is part of the culture problem. Another problem, like here's the identity thing. Offensively, what is their identity? Are they a passing team? Or are they a running team? They dropped back 35 times and only ran the ball 22 times. Why? Like, this team that they went against is known for giving up 140 plus rushing yards per game. The Niners have always been a run first, play action team, but in this game they decide not to. What is the reasoning behind that?
I don't understand the reasoning behind it. I don't understand why. And I think what Kyle would say is he would say, well, they were loading the box. They were putting a bunch of guys up there. And I think in his mind, he thinks if they're doing that, they're vulnerable in other areas. And that's what we're going to attack. But what he just doesn't seem to get is yeah, they're doing that because they stink at it, Kyle. They still can't stop the run. I was stunned at the game. Brady was saying it all game long. I can't believe they're passing this much. It was just frustrating. So frustrating to see. Just do the obvious thing for once. Do the obvious thing. They get down to the red zone. They don't want to hand the ball to Jordan Mason ever. And if they do, they only hand it to him one time. And if he doesn't get any yards, that's it. We got to go back to the pass. He would never do that if Christian McCaffrey there. If McCaffrey was there, it would be run, pass. It's broken right now in San Francisco. It really is.
Yeah, I don't understand it. If Christian McCaffrey was there, we would run the ball. I mean, Christian McCaffrey had a ton of rushing touchdowns, and they act like Jordan Mason can't run the ball when they get to the red zone. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm curious about your first reaction of this. This is the passing chart for Brock Purdy. What's your immediate reaction looking at this?
So this is something I really wanted to see because I thought that Purdy was terrible yesterday, and I just wanted to see how it laid out. And to me, it looks okay. It seems like the passes are evenly distributed. Obviously, the two interceptions are horrible, but Purdy was really inaccurate on a lot of passes yesterday. There was one to Kittle in the red zone where if he just throws a pass that's on target, which Brock does most of the time, Kittle catches it, turns, and runs into the end zone. But instead, it was high. George kind of had to reach for it. And by the time he got it under control, he couldn't turn and get to the end zone fast enough. He had Juwan Jennings open deep down the sideline on a double move. He underthrew it. The pass ends up incomplete. That should have been a touchdown. So, that passing chart looks okay to me, but I thought Brock was really bad yesterday, especially in the critical areas of the game.
This chart looks horrible to me, personally.
Okay. Why?
Here's the thing that I don't understand also is what happened to the quick passing game? Drop back, get it out. Like, where's that? He's Brock's running around. I don't know where this is coming from. Is everyone covered? Is Brock just doing this on his own? Is he trying to be a hero? Is Kyle instructing him to do this? But we are used to run the ball, play action, find your man, or if it is a drop back, it's quick drop back, boom, ball out of your hands. Now it's Brock Purdy's running around like a Russell Wilson highlight film. Like, too much. Like, you should not be running around that much in every single game. Like, the running around and pass plays that we're seeing from Brock Purdy, where he runs around for 10 seconds, that's something that should happen twice a year. And it's happening like 5-6 times a game. I don't get it, man. Do you have any understanding of this?
That's a good question. Like, are guys not open, or is Brock missing them? I don't know the answer to that every time, but you're right. Like, that should be the break glass in case of emergency option, not the kind of like default option. I felt like we got Iowa State Brock Purdy yesterday, right? We didn't get the on target, on time Brock Purdy that we have come to know and love during his time with the 49ers. It just seems so hard. They have to work so hard to get completions and get the ball down the field. Brock was bad on critical plays in the game in the fourth quarter. He was bad in the red zone. I thought coming into this game, he was playing quarterback better than anybody, and I am stunned with the performance that we saw from him yesterday. I really am.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm going to do this real quick. Rob's got to dip out at the 20-minute mark. Croc had to coach some football today. So it's going to be me and you guys in the chat at the 20-minute mark. I'm going to go ahead and drop this link in the chat. If you guys want to call in around the 20-minute mark, I'll start taking some calls so you guys can call in and chime in on this. I want to talk about Jordan Mason, man. So first I'm going to show you guys this. This is Jordan Mason's running chart. Only 14 carries for Jordan Mason, who was getting like a 6 point something per clip, 89 yards. It looks pretty good. Like, he got stuffed a few times, but then he has some big breakaway plays. But if you look at the fumble lost, this play behind the line of scrimmage, that was a big play. But here's what I really want to show you guys is the actual performance on that play, not just by Jordan Mason, but by the leaders of this team.
First and goal, Mason on the pitch. As it gets to the edge,
so I don't know if you guys could see it in slow motion. Let me see if I can. But look, first thing I want you guys to see. Watch Trent Williams. Let me see if I can make this bigger. There we go. Watch Trent Williams. Watch George Kittle absolutely get obliterated, and then watch Kyle Juszczyk give up on his man that ended up causing a strip. So Ronnie Bell's in motion. He's on the field for some reason. Trent Williams, man, right by him. Then Juice is supposed to pick him up. So Juice grabs him there. But now watch Kittle 85. Absolutely wrecked. So George Kittle's out of the play. So Juice blocks momentarily, and then he thinks it's done. No, Kittle got blew up. And then Juice just turns around, and now 43 goes and knocks the ball out right there.
Sitting there watching him.
I'll play it again one more time for you guys, and then we're going to talk about it.
Goal, Mason on the pitch. As it gets to the edge, and he fumbled the football. Oh, boy.
What happened to play through the whistle, Rob? What happened to play through the whistle, dog?
It perfectly encapsulates the 49ers this season, right? They all thought their work was over. They thought, oh, well, our job is done. We're good. We don't need to do anymore. Juice is watching the play. Trent's watching the play. If there's another angle where you can see the ball's on the ground, George Kittle doesn't even know it. He's standing up with his back to the football, staring off into space. Like, they act so entitled. They act like, oh, we got a lead. Okay, we're good. The other team is just going to fold up shop. Like, where is the hunger and the urgency with this team? You know who showed the most fight yesterday of any 49er? Dre Greenlaw on the sidelines when Trey McBride is blocking Charvarius Ward like into the 49ers bench. Greenlaw comes over and shoves McBride. The guy that's recovering from the torn Achilles has more fight than anybody on this team right now. And that's why they're 2-3, and that's why they're in the state that they're in.
They are really missing Drake Greenlaw. He's the intimidation factor out there, that hitter, the guy that makes offensive players want to run out of bounds. They don't really have that this year. I was glad they brought in Malik Mustafa and D. Winters, because I think those guys, they need that youth. They need that speed. They need that recklessness. Are they going to blow a player or two here and every now and then? Sure, they're learning. They're young. But at least they have this reckless abandon that a lot of these veterans don't seem to have anymore. And that part, I think, is frustrating. I want to ask you about this, a quote. Mike Silver wrote an article. I know he comes on your show sometimes. He wrote an article, 3 49ers saying things feel weird. Charvarius Ward, Demo, Nick Bosa, asked about what's going on with 49ers, things feel weird. What do you think they meant by that?
I think we're losing all these games to crappy teams that we normally don't lose to. Honestly, I think that's what they meant. It is a good story from Mike Silver, but to me, the juicier part of that story is a different quote from Charvarius Ward, who first of all says he's been playing terribly, which he's accurate. Mooney Ward has not been good this year, but he also says he knows exactly what's wrong with the team. And he was going to say it, and then he stopped and said, oh, you know what? I better not say it. Well, if you know what's wrong with this team, why haven't you fixed it yet? They keep telling us how early it is. Oh, season's so long. It's so long. It's 30% over. The season is already 30% over. You have 3 losses in the NFC, 2 of which are in the NFC West, and you're 2-3. Stop telling me, oh, we'll fix it. Everything's going to be fine. We know exactly what's wrong. Well, you got to fix it.
What do you think he meant? I know what's wrong, but I don't want to say. What
I don't know. Could be Sorensen, maybe. I mean, Nick Bosa said after the game, we don't adjust fast enough. He said our preparation is great, but they were showing us some different things in the second half. We don't adjust fast enough. Now, I don't know what adjustment they could have made that was going to enable them to tackle James Conner because he ran all over them in the second half. But I mean, for Bosa to come right out and say that after the game, see, this is the stuff that happens when you start to lose games, right? All of a sudden, you get the cracks in the foundation. You get little guys making little comments. Bosa's talking about this, and Mooney Ward's dropping this. You start to see dissension. You lose that sort of unity. And Kyle, in his tenure, has really been able to keep this team together, but maybe that's slipping away this year.
Yeah, and so it's not just me talking about they don't have their identity. And shout out to this guy who says, keyword, what is the 49ers identity? And Kyle is a lot of it, but to each their own. None of it is a surprise. Brock Purdy, after the game, said, we need to find our identity. We need to find our chemistry, which is strange to me because why is the identity changed? What changed? CMC isn't there, and that changes your entire identity. It should not be the case. I had a theory. I put it out on my channel. There's been a lot of former players, coaches, Kirk Morrison, Patrick Peterson, Tom Brady, JT O'Sullivan, Tom, the guy that comes on Grant Shaw. A lot of former coaches, players have been critiquing Kyle Shanahan's drop back passing game, saying he doesn't have a good drop back passing game. Is Kyle Shanahan trying to prove them wrong? Is that what's going on here?
I have seen some people say that. You have to think Kyle Shanahan has the biggest ego of all time, I think, to believe that. And don't get me wrong, he has a big ego for sure. But I don't think he would say, I know this is terrible for the team. I know it increases our chances of losing, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm going to show them. I don't know that that's the reason that they're drop back passing so much, but man, do I miss the play actions. I try to chart that during the game now, and by my count, I think there was 9 yesterday. There should be way more than when you have the NFL's leading rusher or top 3 rusher. I'm not sure exactly where Jordan Mason is right now. You should be play actioning way more than you do. It's one of the things that they're best at. It's one of their offense is built around the play action. So they're not doing it. I don't know the reason why. All I can tell you is they're not doing it. But when your offense is this dysfunctional, like the 49ers are, you're going to get theories like this because we're all trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah, and Jay Mike, I'm curious about this one. He says, what did Kyle think it was smart to go for 4th and 23 instead of trusting the guy who kicks for a living on a 40-yard field goal? Trust your players because your gut ain't. It wasn't Moody out already at this point?
Yes, Moody was out. So, and they went for it. I was actually, first I was like, why don't they just punt? But what they were trying to do, and I think I understand it, they were trying to use that play as a punt, especially if you see the way the Cardinals lined up. The Cardinals were basically like, we're just going to defend the goal line. And so they throw a short pass to Kittle, which serves as a punt. Kittle drops it at the 10-yard line. So what they were really trying to do was pin Arizona deep, which I think was actually the right way to go. But Kittle dropped the pass. Kittle was awful yesterday. He had 3 drops. That would have put Arizona at the 10-yard line. Instead, they got it at, I believe, the 27. So that was a 17-yard shift in field position.
Yeah, and I wonder if he's playing playing through injury as part of the problem. And I also think Charvarius did it last year too, where he had a tough stress where he was actually playing through injury. Maybe that's what he meant. I know it's wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm guessing that's what he meant. But yeah, J-Mike, Moody was already hurt, high ankle sprain. Supposedly the 49ers, we just found out, are bringing in 4 kickers today to prepare to kick for Thursday, because it doesn't look like Jake Moody's going to be that guy. Rob, the biggest issue for the 49ers, in my opinion, right now, is coming into this game, they were 50% in the red zone. They were 1 for 6 yesterday. What is going on with the red zone, man? What's the issue?
So before the week, I went back and watched every single red zone snap. There's 52 snaps they had in the red zone before Sunday. And just to my highly uneducated eyes, 1, they were really having a hard time running the ball. And 2, a lot of the passes were horizontal. A lot of the passes were short of the end zone, short of the goal line. And so what I was looking for yesterday was like, do they sort of try to attack a little more and get a little more vertical? And I think they did. The problem was they just couldn't execute. And on the horizontal plays that they tried to throw, like that Kittle pass I described earlier, where he's open, the play worked. Brock Purdy doesn't make an accurate throw, and George Kittle can't score. So it's a combination of everything. It's a combination of weird play calling, and it's a combination of the execution on the plays that do put them in a position to be successful. They're just not clicking. There's a piece of sand in the machine that is causing all the parts to fall apart. It is not a very well-oiled machine right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's highlight one guy that had a really good day. It was Brandon Aiyuk, so that was nice. I was telling people to chill out on Brandon Aiyuk. I figured he would get back to his old self. And to be real, if you looked at some of the opportunities that were missed in the prior games, had Brock Purdy hit Brandon Aiyuk, it wouldn't have been an issue this whole time. But he did look really good yesterday. Obviously, 8 catches, 147 yards, I believe, off the top of my head. So that was good to see. Does that give you any kind of confidence moving forward in the team at all, having Brandon Aiyuk playing at that level?
It's nice to see them actually involve him, and it's nice to see him come through. It's nice to see some yak. I mean, my God, they've been last in the NFL in yards after catch this year. The biggest play Aiyuk had was, catching an intermediate pass, breaking the 1 tackle, and then taking off down the sideline. Like, yes, that's how it's supposed to be. That's the offense that we're accustomed to seeing. Please do that more. Use him more. It was astonishing to me. He had more yards in the first quarter yesterday than he had in any game this season. He had 91 yards in the first quarter of the game. So that was at least one encouraging. To me, it was Aiyuk, Bosa, and like maybe Mitch Wishnowsky, who are the winners from the week. Because Mitch had a tough job. Like, I don't care that it was a short field goal. That's a really tough job to just be like, hey, you're a good cook. Can you farm? I know you punt, but can you kick now? Like, that's not easy to do. Other than that, no other 49er had a good day.
I would say Demo had a good day. I didn't like his comments afterwards. I would say Young. I want to watch the film, but from what I saw during the game, I liked what I saw from Malik and D Winners. Fred led the team of tackles, so we'll see. But I really got to watch the film. It's hard to see everything, obviously, until you go back and watch the All 22. This guy gifted 5 memberships. Appreciate you, this guy. Thank you very much, buddy. Play action with this bottom of barrel O-line. Nuts, Helperman says. But I mean, it's been that way.
I don't think the offensive line has played that poorly this year, to be honest with you. Really, they're fine on play action. I feel like what they really get into trouble with is the must-pass situations, the obvious must-pass situations. We saw it again in the final drive yesterday, right? It's only 90 seconds. The Niners don't have any timeouts, so Arizona knows you got to pass. And what happens on the final play? It's 6-on-6. There's 6 blockers. There's 6 rushers. There's a miscommunication along the offensive line. Brock hitches when he shouldn't hitch. He locks onto Brandon Aiyuk when he shouldn't. And the ball he gets hit as he throws. The ball pops up in the air and it's intercepted. That to me was where the offensive line struggles, is the obvious must-pass situations. And it's always been an issue for them for years now.
Yep. Fast Freddy's a new member. And this one is interesting too. Purdy narrative should be considered. If you take out one game, he's 6-5 touchdown interception ratio, 50% completion percentage, sacks and running circles. Let me get more detailed than that. And thank you for the super chat, Corey Soda. Rob, here's one I want to get. This season, he has 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 4 fumbles, 2 lost, which means he's trending 20 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and 14 fumbles, 7 lost. He's trending 20 touchdowns and 21 turnovers. What's going on? Should we be talking about Brock a little differently than we have in the last couple of weeks? Is it time to put the little fire to his feet?
I don't think it's unfair to ask more of your quarterback. Like, dude, you're gonna ask for $60 million after the season per year, which is the market rate for quarterbacks, which, he should. Like, that's your contract is up or you're eligible. You have every right to ask for a market rate contract. But if you're asking the team to invest in you like that, you can't be the reason the team loses games. And there have been a couple of times this year where he's been the reason that they have lost games. He wasn't good in Minnesota. He wasn't good yesterday. In critical spots yesterday, in the red zone, in the fourth quarter, in crunch time, he's giving the ball away. And a couple of those interceptions, at least two, have been deep in his own territory. So not only are you turning the football over, you're immediately setting up the other team for success. And the truth of this year for the 49ers is that the offense was going to have to be the unit they leaned on. The offense is going to have to be the unit to close out games at the end. And when that's going to be the case, I got to be able to depend on my quarterback. And he's made a lot of really good high-level plays this year. But he's also made some bottom-of-the-barrel crap plays this year. That sack he took on 2nd and 14 in the third quarter where he's running around for 10 seconds, and then he takes a 9-yard sack that set up the 3rd and 23 and then the 4th and 23. Like, you can't take a sack in that spot knowing you don't have a kicker. You can't do it. You were on the 18-yard line, and he runs around, and he gets sacked, and he just sinks the team's chances of scoring on that possession, basically. He has to play better than he played yesterday. He just has to, or this team's not even going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and by the way, Brock Purdy takes blame for tipped at the line of scrimmage interceptions, as everyone throughout the NFL criticizes every quarterback for that. There's no excuse because Brock Purdy himself said, I shouldn't have double pumped. I should have just hit George Kittle the first time on one of the tip passes. And the other one, George Kittle was wide open, but he was stealing Brandon Aiyuk when there was the hot, and he needs to be aware of that. Even Brock Purdy acknowledges this. So, yes, tipped balls at the line of scrimmage are on the quarterback, and every 49ers fan would hold the same accountability to any quarterback that wasn't the 49ers quarterback. Rob, I know you got to get out of here, but I'm going to read this last super chat. You're giving the ball back regardless. Why not try for a field goal? Mitch's first kick had the distance if it was 40 yards. Also, if they just wanted to make it look like a punt, why not a slant? DBs were 10 yards off the ball.
So here's why sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Here's why I don't try the field goal in that spot. One, I don't think Mitch is going to make it. And don't forget, if you miss the field goal, the Cardinals take over from the spot of the hold. It's not the line of scrimmage. So you would be improving their field position. Plus, with Wisnowski as the kicker, you also have a new holder. Kyle Juszczyk becomes the holder in that situation. So you're really depending on your whole operation to go well. What if it's a bad snap and Juice can't get it down and the Cardinals grab the ball? And, there's so much that could go wrong there that I understand why the 49ers didn't want to do that. And you could say that they should have done a slant and okay, but Kittle dropped the ball. He dropped the ball. It was in his hands. He flat out dropped it. So, I mean, I got to put the onus on the players on that one.
Agree, sir. Make sure you guys are, I'm sure you are, but if you're not, subscribe to the Gold Center podcast. Check out Rob on YouTube. I'm going to run this 17-second commercial. Rob, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, dude.
Thanks, Ryan. Anytime.